Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Global Career Forum, the international online recruiting event organized for the MBA students from top business schools. And welcome you for today's online sessions with AMP Health. And we have the pleasure to welcome for this live session our keynote speaker, Jordan Marcy, who is a program associate at AMP Health. As this is a live Q&A session, I do invite all participants to ask your questions in the Q&A panel on the top right side, and we will convey them to Jordan. Jordan, warm welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. I remember I was part of the GCF last year, and it was a really great experience, and got some really strong candidates from it. So happy to be here and hear all of your questions about these roles. Just a little bit of introduction about me. Like I said, my name is Jordan Morrissey. I'm the Senior Program Associate and Acting Deputy Director for Africa for AMP Health. I've been with the organization for about a year and 4 months now. Really excited. It's been great working here for the amount of time I have, but really excited to share, which is Jana just put up on the screen. We just got this approved by our board last week. This is our brand new AMP Health strategy. A lot of information, I know, but our new director really believes in the power of a single document and fitting, what we are as an organization on that. So I can walk you through that a little bit in a second. Just a little bit more about me. Prior to AMP Health, I was a Peace Corps volunteer working in rural Namibia on community health and HIV/AIDS prevention. Prior to that, studied international affairs and public health at George Washington University here in Washington, D.C., where I am based and where AMP Health is based out of the Aspen Institute. Great, so just want to turn a little bit to the strategy before we open it up to some questions. And the AMP Health really got its roots working with Ministry of Health teams that focus specifically on community health. That's definitely still our largest partnership. We partner with 4 ministries of health, or 4 countries in community health programs. That's Ghana through the Ghana Health Service, Malawi, Zambia, and Sierra Leone. In addition to that, we, through a partnership with Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, we support expanded program on immunization teams, teams responsible for vaccine delivery in Malawi, Zambia, and Sierra Leone as well. So we're currently working with 7 teams across 4 countries, definitely moving from kind of proof of concept startup mode into scale. We really believe that this model has a lot more application than just with community health teams, and I think that's what you'll see reflected in our new strategy. So in terms of vision, all of the countries, all of the WHO signatory countries recently met in Astana, Kazakhstan, and reaffirmed their commitment to primary health care and a world where governments and societies prioritize, promote, and protect people's health and well-being. That's a vision that we at AMP Health really believe in, and felt really good about signing on to a vision that other country partners have already signed on to, and not really strike out with our own. From there, our mission really is to improve health systems and outcomes by collaborating with governments to strengthen leadership and management capabilities through public-private partnership. We really, like I said, we really focused a little bit more on community health, but leadership and management is really a skill set that's quite agnostic to any specific health focus area or vertical, if you will, within a ministry. HIV teams need leadership and management skills, policy and planning departments, M&E. So we're really kind of opening up our offering to engage with more parts of the ministry, because this is what we've heard from our ministry counterparts to date. AMP Health really does seek to put governments and our ministry partners in the center of everything that we do. And so when we heard that, it's not just the community health team that could use this leadership and management strengthening, it's also the planning department or the procurement team. We're really responding to a pull from the system rather than anything we're pushing on anyone else. The roles specifically that we're recruiting for now, these management partner roles, which I know the job description has been shared, that really is really the core of goal one, this build capacity idea. We embed through these management partners for at least 2 years with these ministry teams to really work day to day, shoulder to shoulder with them to strengthen this leadership and management capability. It's not traditional technical assistance in that someone comes in for a short period of time, kind of really is there for a very specific set of deliverables. You're going to build a health information system. Come in, maybe work with a team, and then kind of fly out. We really do believe that for any sustainable impact to be felt in these systems, our model really relies on not only building the leadership and management capacity of an individual, but also the teams in which those individuals work, and more broadly, the systems in which they work. So this is really a really core component of what makes us different than some of the other organizations working in this space. We really we're here for the long term to really support the priorities of the ministries in which we work. So I know there's a lot here on this strategy, and I'm sure you have other questions as well, and I want to leave plenty of time for that. So I'll stop there and either hand it back over to Jana or to open it up for questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jordan. I think that this was really helpful in terms of company's mission and where are you moving in next few years, what is the strategy. One thing you mentioned is the position you're currently recruiting for that is also promoted through GCF is the position for management partner. And I wanted to ask you if you can share a little bit more about that. What is actually the profile that you're looking for? Are candidates expected to have specific background? Maybe if you can just share a bit of more information on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So our management partners, that's kind of what I refer to when I say embedded professionals in these ministries. So as I mentioned, we were working with 7 teams, so we have 7 management partners currently in field in 4 different countries. These are typically mid-career private sector professionals like yourselves, typically with MBAs or masters of some sort, and some experience in the private sector. It's not to say that people who have been working in sort of the global public health space don't have a ton to offer here. It's just that we really are trying to expand the way that ministry teams are thinking about things like leadership and management, why it's important to have a costed work plan, clear roles and responsibilities, all these sort of honestly business school type concepts that a lot of us take for granted in the West. It's not that the individuals we work with aren't extremely technically capable. These are some of the most proficient technical experts that I've ever met in the field. But they're as they rise up in the ranks, they're expected to do a lot more managerial and leadership tasks, more strategic thinking, and really run workforces of thousands of people. Which just because you're a very good nurse doesn't mean that you're necessarily equipped with the same skills to lead a program of 10,000 nurses. That's really what we're trying to get at through our intervention, really helping the national level teams think really intentionally about how a program should be run, can be run better, and giving them the actual tools and leadership management skills to unlock that human potential. So like I said, some experience in the private sector is always something we're looking for. Experience working in a low resource setting, I think that's important. All of our management partners are based in the capital cities, but not all capital cities throughout Africa or the world, for that matter, are the same. So it is a bit of a different, quite independent in some ways. Looking for people with a lot of flexibility, a willingness to roll up their sleeves, really get in there and build the trust that's necessary to build the leadership and management skills. I think that's a really important component. You don't want to be viewed as sort of the consultant who's just swooping in to give solutions. Really, the first 3 months of the management partner role is doing a situational analysis to really understand the context of the work, so that the right types of solutions and problem solving can be addressed. Change management, capacity building, training, all these kinds of things are really what we seek to look for. We currently work in Anglophone African countries, although that will likely change as we expand into Francophone and Lusophone Africa as well, and even beyond just Africa. But really that resilience and grit that we are actually always seeking to instill in our host country national partners is also really what we're looking for in our management partners as well. Really somebody who's willing to take quite an entrepreneurial challenge and make it their own. Within this larger supportive framework. The nice thing is that as we grow, we have more management partners to kind of create this network of sharing best practices and knowledge transfer across the countries in which we work.
Thank you. So this covered basically the requirements, the characteristics that you're looking for. You also quickly mentioned what a person in this position would focus on in the first 3 months. And I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what are the biggest challenges that someone in this position would face?
Yeah, it's a good question. In a lot of ways, we're not only seeking a culture change within ministries in terms of the belief in the importance of leadership and management, but from the development, global public health space more broadly. Earlier I mentioned traditional technical assistance. Oftentimes when organizations come in, they come in with a pretty specific mandate, pretty specific, deliverables, KPIs, which is great. A lot of work gets done, but the individuals within these ministries' ability to absorb and carry that on moving forward is not always the strongest. So I think that that's really a unique component of helping the teams understand that our job is to help them do their jobs better. We shine when they shine. It's a little bit different than some of the power dynamics that have been established between development partners and ministries in the past. So that definitely takes some time. I think that's what I really trying to get at in this question of building trust. You want to be seen as a part of the team, and all of our management partners really are viewed as parts of their constituent teams within the ministries, really valued by their ministry counterparts, but that relationship does take time. You're a new person coming in from a different setting and background, and that trust building is really what we as AMP Health encourage the management partners to focus on through that situational assessment. Really learning and asking a bunch of questions rather than trying to seek even if there are low-hanging fruit, really taking the time to build that trust with the teams is really, we've found to be quite crucial to success.
Thank you. So when basically we're talking about performance, what are the performance expectations for this position, for this role over first, say, 12 months, and to who the person would be reporting directly?
Yeah, great questions. So with each of our countries, we establish what we call partnership objectives. These are already very much work streams that the teams are seeking to action, whether it be in the short term or the sort of 12 to 18 to 24 month period of coinciding with the 2-year placement. The immunization ones will feel very immunization heavy, as the community health ones will focus on more of those priorities. On top of that, what we try to layer is what types of competencies from a leadership and management standpoint, or if a country wants to fully operationalize the training of 10,000 community health workers, our job and what we expect the management partners to work with teams on is how do you unpack that, and what are we really talking about, right? Like training 10,000 people to do anything is a task. There's a bunch of work that has to go into the pre-work behind that, budgets, timelines for all these things, kind of taking that end goal and planning backwards, all these kinds of sometimes softer, but even, from a process standpoint, having a work plan, having a clear strategy document. These are the kinds of things that our management partners work with the teams to develop so that they are doing their own work in a more intentional way. In terms of performance development frameworks for the management partners themselves, so they're really assessed on their ability to help the teams execute on those partnership objectives, but really from the lens of what leadership and management capabilities were unlocked through that process. So, a management partner should never be working on a work stream in isolation, but should be, always with a member or a group of team members to do that. So again, it's really, helping the team execute on their goals and really ensuring that the leadership and management is always being brought to the fore. That's really how we assess our management partners. And management partners will report to the Deputy Director for Africa. My colleague Uzo is currently on maternity leave, and I'm filling in for her in her absence. Like I said, given we're post-strategy and sort of in AMP Health 2.0, I imagine our kind of secretariat level team will grow a little bit. So that may shift in terms of line management of the management partners, but there's always I talk to each of our management partners at least every other week. We're always available to field sort of any problems or challenges that they're facing. And like I said, then there's the linkages between management partners. We have 2 MPs who have stayed on for a 3rd-year extension, and they're now both what we call senior regional management partners. And they're in that additional responsibility. They've really sought to be quite intentional about onboarding our newest management partners and helping them kind of, we want to learn from the knowledge that we've been able to generate through this work thus far. So any opportunity that we can give to subsequent cohorts of management partners to give them that leg up is definitely something that we're quite intentional about doing.
Thank you. Questions from audience is also regarding professional development. So the person who was in this position previously, where have they moved on to? What are the opportunities for advancement or professional development?
Yeah, it's a great question. So actually, the job description that has been shared through GCF, that's recruiting for our MP replacements, actually for the 2 individuals who extended for a 3rd term. So Matt Ramirez, and all of their profiles are on our website as well. Matt Ramirez will be wrapping up at the end of June after his 3rd year. Yeah, I mean, we've only had he will be our 2nd management partner to kind of graduate through the term. The network, the level of people that he's been able to meet in this space and more broadly in the development space, I think is really second to none. As a public-private partnership with sort of the caliber of partnership board members that we have, there's been a ton of opportunities. I mean, even in the near term, our other senior regional management partner, Tendo, that's the Sierra Leone position that we're recruiting for as well. He's in San Francisco right now at a big sort of donor funders in the space meeting to not only kind of pitch AMP Health 2.0, but also just to make those connections more broadly. I think management partners very, very quickly become, because they are able to build such trusting relationships within the ministry, they quickly become important individuals in the space, not only in the countries in which they're working, but kind of more broadly. I think a lot of other organizations approach AMP Health because they're interested in working more with the team and the management partner, because they've been able to see the kinds of efficiencies and opportunities that they've been able to unlock. So it's definitely a position with a lot of, while a lot of flexibility and definitely a lot of independence, definitely an opportunity for growth, just given, we're tapped into the Aspen Institute network more broadly. Our executive director has a lot of connections in this space. We bring our management partners to the Aspen Ideas Health Festival in June in Aspen, Colorado, which is another really great networking opportunity. Yeah, I'm really excited to see where both Matt and Tendo land, but I'm fully confident that this experience has definitely helped them helped shape what they want to do with careers, but also just the level of connections and opportunities that have been unlocked through AMP Health, I think they've found very fruitful.
Thank you. We have a lot of interesting questions coming in from the audience. Frank is asking you, does having a deep cultural knowledge and background in one of the countries you work, is it considered as a plus for selecting a partner?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think even our own thinking around this has shifted a little bit. I think, early days of AMP Health, there was some question around, you want to be, it's this balance between wanting to be viewed as a trusted partner, but also coming with some sort of outside experience. So, previous iterations of the model have almost shied away from individuals who are maybe too close to the space in which they're working. Like if you're, from Malawi, you've lived in Lilongwe your whole life, you've worked in other sort of public health development spaces, that would be almost seen as a little bit too cozy to affect real change. I think our thinking has really changed on this. Not only are our ministry partners are involved in the final interviews. There's definitely a desire for more inclusion of their own fellow compatriots in the process, but also I think it can give you a leg up in terms of making those connections with the ministry, with your colleagues that are able to kind of break down those walls and build trust a little bit quicker. So I do think that can be a valuable asset. At the end of the day, it's like whether the whole person who's applying will be a good fit. I think having cultural background on some of the places could definitely be helpful. I wouldn't say it's a silver bullet, but I definitely think that I'm happy with how our thinking as an organization has shifted to be more agnostic about as long as you've had experience in a low resource setting, not necessarily, our management partner in Sierra Leone, for example, he's a dual citizen. He's spent most of his life in Canada, but he is Sierra Leonean as well. So it's not, so as we've grown, we've definitely seen a sort of hybrid of those types of experiences.
So you mentioned basically how the company has changed as an organization throughout the growth. What about how you compare working at AMP Health versus working in a larger strategy consultancy?
Yeah, it's a very good question. AMP Health is quite unique in its model. It's, I think, when we think of consultants more in the lines of, a McKinsey, a Deloitte, in that line, I think we think about, what a lot of people picture is somebody who comes in for a short period of time is really, a nice sounding board to come up with a lot of answers quite quickly, but then, usually leaves, and the question of sustainability is sometimes left out. I think our model is different in that working with governments can be slow and can be bureaucratic, but it's also so important that that's the mode in which we take, because otherwise, as soon as the technical assistance leaves or the consultant leaves, it's easy for a lot of this to fall flat. So I think what we're looking, in terms of the type of person we're looking for a management partner, it's somebody who is more willing to be there to kind of play the long game. In terms of, 2 years is a long time in some ways, but it just scratches the surface in others. So I think, definitely somebody who's willing to do sort of the softer touches, more incremental change, rather than kind of having the mandate that some larger consultancy firms have. that's definitely a bit of a shift. And again, our priorities are the country team's priorities. So it's not as if somebody at the higher level of the ministry mandates that AMP Health has to work with a team. It's very organic in terms of the desire to work with the team. So I think that sets up a nicer power balance between the MP and the team.
Thank you. Next question is related actually to a topic that comes up oftentimes in various conversations. Is artificial intelligence, machine learning, already changing the way you run your projects, and how do you foresee that going forward?
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, one of our strongest partnership board members, he's a big supporter of AMP Health, Dave Milestone. He's the director of USAID's Center for Innovation and Impact. And just last week we were having a meeting about AI, and because that part of USAID is doing a lot of really interesting research here. I think that for so long. I'll speak to Africa because that's where my experience is. So long, many of these developing countries have been sometimes the last recipients of new technologies, and I think, look at, smartphones or mobile banking. Malawi didn't establish a full landline system and then go to QWERTY phones, then go to smartphones. They really leapfrogged a bunch of these technologies, and I think there's a huge amount of potential for these ministries that are really thinking intentionally about how they can be leaders in this space and not just follow the trends of some other larger development partners. I think it's a really exciting opportunity. For example, Sierra Leone is working on establishing, strengthening its data reporting system from the community health worker all the way up to the national level. It's currently done kind of haphazardly with paper forms. They're trying to go straight to a digital reporting platform because the technological infrastructure is there, and if there's somebody who's willing to kind of push the team to go in that direction, and then there's a pull from the ministry more broadly, I think that's exactly what we're trying to do. Help these teams really lead their own prioritization and sort of visions for their countries and their countries' health systems. So new technology is definitely something that we're always open to. I think the AI question is still, I think it's still a bit of a question. I don't think we've figured out exactly the application for a Ministry of Health in any of the countries that we've worked with yet. But I would put a big caveat on yet, because I do think that there's a ton of desire to kind of, not wait and sort of leapfrog some of these other countries if the technologies are there and the will is there to really implement new and exciting, innovative technologies.
Thank you. Next question is coming in from Matilda, asking how many AMP Health team members are staffed in a particular country at a time?
Yeah, it's a good question. So only recently have we really been able to see kind of the scale of having more than one management partner in a country at a time. So like I said, we were working with community health teams in Sierra Leone and Malawi, and then we added the EPI. So 3 of the 4 countries that we're currently operating in now have 2 management partners working on 2 different teams. But that's only in the past 3 months where 2 of those placements have been made. So it's really, we're just starting to see kind of just the low-hanging fruit that can be unlocked from kind of having 2 people from the same organization working with different parts of the ministries and how that can connect. And I think that just gets back to the strategy question. We realize that in order to really push on primary health care, you can't just focus on community health, can't just focus on immunization. So we are fully, I would say that we envision growth moving forward to not just be to new countries, but to new positions in the countries we're already working in, to really create this kind of activation energy to kind of change the culture within the ministry more broadly. So, and Sierra Leone has said this, like putting somebody in planning, putting somebody in M&E, and putting another person in procurement, that could really unlock a lot of potentials with the two management partners that we already have. So currently 2 in all of the countries except for Ghana, but I envision that will change in the next 6 to 12 months as well.
Excellent. So Jordan, we spoke about the position, AMP Health as a company, and the strategy division for the future. So for those that are interested to apply, could you just quickly share with us what is the recruitment process from application to the job offer? What can they expect?
Absolutely. So I know the job description is available on through GCF. It's also available through the Aspen Institute's website. We're trying to do something a little bit new in that we're hoping to kind of get a standing pool of management partner candidates, so that as new openings kind of arise, we already have the Malawi and Sierra Leone ones identified, but as new openings arise, we can really more quickly action the sort of last 2 steps of the process and get people in country faster. That's kind of our goal. But yeah, we're reviewing candidates now on a rolling basis. Obviously, we're focusing on Malawi more pertinently. So I would imagine, I'll use Malawi as the example. So the current management partner's tenure is up at the end of June. I would envision final interviews happening, mid-May at the latest. Working backwards from there, before we bring 2 finalists in country to have interviews with both AMP Health and the ministry, so that it's a joint decision that's being made. Prior to that, there's a written case assessment. We give you a prompt and ask you to develop a presentation in response to that prompt, kind of how you would address this leadership and management challenge. That presentation is then used in the final interview in country. Before the written case assessment, you'll have 2 rounds of calls, kind of a call with probably myself and or the director, and before that, kind of a screen call with either, again, myself or another one of our management partners or colleagues, just to kind of assess fit. So really looking at, a round of CV screens, an initial call, a follow-up call, a written case assessment, and then the in-person interviews. So definitely the opportunity that's more fast approaching is the Malawi one, but that same sort of sequencing of timeline will happen again for Sierra Leone, and Tendo's up at the end of September. So this year is actually kind of nice in terms of the spacing of the opportunities, and I envision there will be several more opportunities for Q4 2019 as well.
Excellent. So currently there is one job, one position that you are recruiting for. Do you open for new jobs as new projects come, or are the jobs well defined in advance? Yeah,
I think we're going to use, our new approach, I think we're really just going to use kind of this job description and update it as needed, but kind of always be recruiting, given that we're now really trying to scale. So, while it's technically only one now, the Sierra Leone position is fast behind that. And, given that it does take time to secure things like work permits and that type of thing, we're really trying to build in, not only shorten the time frame that it takes from initial application to getting in country, but just kind of keeping that process be a continual cycle, so that we don't really drop out of recruitment mode, if you will.
Excellent. Perhaps any last-minute recommendation to the students, MBA students, to the future applicants before we conclude this session today?
Yeah, no, I just encourage everybody, especially given what you've heard today, hopefully it gave a little more insight into the actual work on the ground. I encourage everyone whose interest was piqued to apply. Really just trying to highlight, why this feels like the right fit for you at this time, and then speaking to any of the sort of competencies that we spoke to in the past. But that's the plug I want to make for AMP Health and the management partner positions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jordan, for taking the time to be with us here today at Global Career Forum. And as promised, the recording of this session will be available on the event website within a few hours. Thank you again, Jordan.
Great. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.